That's what the definition of hope is biblically. The anticipation of goodness. What does that conjure up for me? Christmas Eve. It does. Because, and it's so easy to have hope on Christmas Eve. Why? Because you really believe in the next day. You believe in the next day. See, because hope and belief go together. Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, the kids are full of hope. That anticipation of goodness. It's hard to control the little monkeys. That's what hope looks like. And it is the exact reverse and opposite of hopelessness. May I also suggest that hope is also missing from the church.
Wow.
That was the journey down to the post office. Let's do the journey back from the post office. Because this one's going to be setting the theme for where I'm going. And that is, he said to me, he said, is unbelief real? It's like, what do you mean, Lord? Is unbelief real? And that's where I'm going to start this little bit. Is unbelief real? I mean, people say, well, help me with my unbelief. Yeah? And people say, oh, if, and we're talking about unbelief. But let me just go with me a second on this, yeah? Because this is really going to screw your brain. So you've got to keep awake now, yeah? Because if this will be really awkward to follow if you're not really listening now. So, I was talking to a friend of mine, and her name's now. Sadly, she's just phoned me just after I was at the post office. She is going to tell you what. So I said, so I talked to her, and I know that unbelief when it comes to healing. Let me explain that though. She believes 100%. She believes God will heal her, and she's had some great testimonies. But she has unbelief that God will use her to heal somebody else. That's her, so she has unbelief. Does she? Or does she believe that God won't use her to heal somebody else? That video that we just watched, I wrote down, but I couldn't count how many times it said it. But the main thing, the theme of that was strongholds. Taking down the strongholds. Being held captive, being set free, break every stronghold over me. It was. Hey. What's a stronghold? Let me dictionary definition of the word stronghold. Okay? You with me? Okay? So, it's a fortress or a place of safety. That's good. Here comes the next bit. You can look this up on Google or in your dictionaries. Yeah? The next thing is believing something that is not true. It's a stronghold.
Wow.
Believing something that is not true. So my friend Sue, see, she hasn't got unbelief about the healing. She's believing that God's not going to use her to heal somebody. See, you can't have unbelief. See, picture it like this. Let's go back to the postman a minute. This confused my wife. She might tell you it in a different way because she found this confusing. Okay? So you can hear Deb's version too if you want. So, picture this. Are you all aware when I say like pigeonholes? Yeah? So I've got a wall here full of pigeonholes, and it's the postman again. Yeah? I'm still in that post box thing. And they look and they go, that's for Sheffield. I put that in that one. That's for Luton. Put that in that one over there. Right? Start sorting and they put things in the pigeonholes and then they break it down. So everything has a pigeon. So let's just look at it like this, right? Instead of it being addresses of locations, it's promises of God. Okay? It's gifts that He's given you. Okay? And then something has to be. Okay? We've got to line it. It's like your brain works. Pigeon. So to healing, you go, I take it out. God's going to use it. Bang on. Put it away. I go to Sue's pigeon. Take it out. It's not empty. Healing. She's got a belief still in there. Belief says you won't be used. Wow. Unbelief has to have a belief. Yeah, of course. But we don't need Deb's version of that. You're all nodding at me. See? No, just kidding. So, hers was good as well. It was very good. What did you say? Hold on, we're having a wife and husband chat. What did you say? Oh, I don't know. Let me talk to her because I don't want to be in trouble. I've got 2.5 hours in the car. So I don't get this right with her. My journey home.
It's a wise man.
Yeah, there's wisdom. Right? There's wisdom. So listen. So this is it, right? Unbelief has to have a belief. It tells us in the Bible to renew your mind. It tells us in the Bible to tear down strongholds. What's the main thing that you're responsible for? Okay, and I'm not talking about being under the law and the law of love. Okay, I'm not saying that, but I'm talking about our transformation. What's the main thing that's going to take this guy from there to actually walking in? And in there, he has to have the correct belief system. The guy is there, it's because he doesn't know Jesus. The reason there are a whole load of people in church still sobbing is because they know Jesus, but they don't know the belief system right. Yeah, why are there victims in church? Indeed. But let me tell you, I went to an event for Paula, funny enough, and I don't know where we was, but we was up this way. We might be Nottingham, could have been Leeds, but I know it was up the M1. And as I was driving up the M1, the Lord said to me, I want you to talk about false positives. Do you remember this? Yeah. Do you remember? I was there and I drew on the whiteboard. It was that time. Yeah.
That was Nottingham.
Nottingham was it? Yeah, because the Lord just really wanted me to work on this. Now, I used to work in software, okay, in particular in a thing called data capture. And what it is, you take something like this, scan it, and then we had software that would read that, that scribble, that handwriting. And you filled in like someone in this room, like when you going back, you're all young, you're all young people. But us oldies, when we wanted a credit card, we used to have to fill in a form. Yeah, I know, it's weird, but this is true. That's what happened. You filled in a form, and you had tick boxes and all that, and then you sign it at the bottom and you send it in. I know you guys can't comprehend this, can you? Like, really? You do it like that? And then that would come, and then they would scan it, and they would use optical character recognition, and they would actually read it. Okay. Now, I was a managing director of this company that worked with this, and I'm very competitive, and I just refuse to lose, because why should I? I've got the favour of God on me, you know. So and they would do this thing where, like, they were saying, well, am I going to buy Collins software or should I buy Debbie's? And what they would do is they would actually take 1,000 documents, run it through, and the software would say 27% accurate. Let me show you the 3% I don't know, because it would be reading this and it'd say, you know, this scruffy writing. They go, is it an S or is it a 5? Yeah, is it an I or is it a 1? So it would be making a decision, yeah, and it makes a decision. Listen, based on what it knows. Okay, and it makes a decision, but in that decision, it comes up with saying I'm 97% right, and then another one might say next time round they scan another 1,000 through and it says I'm 88% right. You do follow this. I know it's boring, but stick with it because it's got a good end. Okay, and basically, if I'm competing with Debbie and I knew my software was the best, I knew it. Right? It was really good, and I'd go against this competitor, and they would come up with 97%, and I've got 92. And I said, actually, it was a peer. It really was. Midland Bank headquarters, just round the corner there. Yeah, HSBC, just round the corner there. And they were doing a multi-million-pound contract, and I said, that's not true. I said, it's got false positives in it. I said, you need a truth table. Oh, here we go, Bible. You need a truth table. I said, what's a truth table? I said, you need to get someone to type all that out twice, so we know it's 100% accurate. Then you need to take all the output and actually compare it with the truth table. Because you see, the result of 97% is based on what it thinks is true.
Yeah.
And then when you start looking at it, there's false positives in there. It said it was an S and it was a 5, the donut, yeah, and things like that. And actually, I always won because I made a truth table to make decisions from. False positives are your strongholds. You're making a decision based on a lie. Yeah. And this is the problem. Now, why is this a problem? Well, there's lots of reasons why it's a problem, but let's just do a few because we're going to have to end at some point. So these ones I want to really sort of focus on properly. Let me start by this. Who wants revival? Yeah? Okay. Who wants to see signs, wonders and miracles? Who wants to see the goodness of God? Yeah? Okay. Do you know there's been some absolutely amazing women and men that have prayed to see revival? They pray and they pray and they pray. And you know, if you go and look at Azusa Street, you look at the Hebrides revival, you look at the Welsh revival, you look at the Brownsville, doesn't matter where you look, you'll see that people have been there praying away for this to happen. Yeah. What happens? Let me tell you what happens. God sends a man, not an angel. God sends a man. But that man has the truth table 100% right. He sends somebody that believes correctly. That's the difference. Everyone's praying away, but there's not that many people that believe everything. Because if you believed everything, you'd be doing greater things than Jesus, because he says that. Yeah? You see, they're praying away, and God can't answer these prayers until you sort out your strongholds, and then he'll send you around. You could be the next person that leads revival because you came to an event you didn't really want to come to and you heard a good message. That could be, couldn't it? You know? You start to think of the impact of this. So you know, it says, you know, you can sit there and say, yeah, but have I got the faith? Well, let's just talk about faith. Because actually, scripturally, what the Bible says, Jesus himself said, you only need faith the size of a mustard seed to move a mountain. So let me just take that. And I'm not taking it out of context. Because what he's actually saying is, you don't need much of this. Because it's so powerful. You don't need a lot. Because the smallest thing you could think of was the mustard seed. You only need that much. And you can move a mountain. And then I think, if you read your Bible and it's the same as mine, it actually tells us that it gives us a measure of faith. He actually says it's a gift that he's given to us. So I assume he probably gave us something that was probably a bit bigger than a mustard seed. But here's the thing. Faith can only access what you believe. It's like the debit card. It can only access what's in the bank account. People go around and say, oh, I wish I had more faith. No, I just wish you believed correctly. Because God's given you the faith. I just wish you believed. Last time I was with Paula at Norwich. And actually, I suppose I should get some notes because there's nothing else that will encourage you when I turn pages. You know, always getting near the end, you know, you see the pages turning, you know. So let's just do that because I want to bring hope to you guys too, you know. Oh, let's put that. Let's do that down there. That's that.
I'm sorry, Colin, about the sound.
Well, I forgot it, Paul. So you're right. It's actually probably handy that it's like this anyway. Because, but if you don't like my word I'm bringing, I've got a lovely range of homemade kitchens. Struggling for last night. You know? So yeah.
You want me to answer?
No, it's fine. But I have to pick the place where the fan's on, so I'll bring it over. So, do you know what? I can't be bothered with that. Anyway, let's just carry on. Deb's moaning already. That's one for the journey home now. Okay, well, I've only got one so far. Because it was about the banqueting and the table when I was at the last event, and I was thinking, how am I going to, you know, really what to speak on the banqueting table? But then they gave me a message on it, and it was actually about the spies. Now, some of you was there, but some of you wasn't. So I just want to recap this a little bit. It was about the sending out, going into the promised land, okay? Because you see, this guy needs to get to the promised land, okay? Now, the promised land, sadly, it's not a tropical island with, you know, pina coladas and cocktails and stuff. It's actually a place where you're going to go to work in the Father's business, yeah? And this is the trouble, you know, our Father has a lot of sons and daughters, but they don't all want to work in the family business. And, you know, we've been called into the family business. And in that place, there are promises for us. There's amazing promises. And we need to get to that place. But where there's promises, there's quite often giants. I mean, this was the thing. These guys, you know, they went out. Now, let's just look at what happened. Right? They sent out 12 spies. And the 12 spies went out. They went out for 40 days and they come back and they gave a report. Okay? Now, firstly, what I am going to say is we know the report was not a lie. I'm not saying it's a stronghold. Okay? So I'm still on this stronghold message, by the way. Yeah, I've not gone completely off track. I know I'm loopy, but I'm not that crazy. Okay? So, and so it's still about strongholds because they come back and they give the report and they go, there's some whoppers down there. They're huge. They're going to crush us, you know. And then you got the other two lads, you know, the good ones, Caleb and Jacob, and out there, and they go, Joshua, sorry. I got Caleb right, don't I? And they go, you know, wow, you know, did you see all the provision down there? We can do this. You know, these guys have got no favour now. God's with us. We're going to do. So the difference was no one lied. But One has got all his beliefs and promises correctly, which means his perception, he's perceptive of what he's looking through the vision of a correct belief system. So therefore, when he looks at it, he sees that, let's do this. When the other guys look at it, they don't have the same belief system.
Yeah.
Their report is completely different. So firstly, if your strongholds and your belief system is wrong, this guy's never going to move from here. He's stuck there. Now, I also said, and I want to say it here as well, was that no one made a decision based on the fact their belief system was all screwed up. That wasn't it. No one also made a decision. What they called it was this: wisdom. Oh, did you see the size of those? They're going to kill us. You know, and it's like it was a wisdom. Everybody voted, and they voted out of what they call wisdom. But actually, they voted out of fear.
Yeah.
Fear masquerades under religious spirit as wisdom. And fear will appear if your belief system is wrong, far more prevalently than it is called to. There will be fear, okay? It appears 365 times in the Bible. The Lord tells you fear not. Yeah? So you got 2 days that are going to be worse than the other 362 numbers. But he says, fear not. He's telling you, and he also